Nobody has to sit and suffer. To me, life is not that difficult. If it is, then I make it like that. And that's really the bottom line, because some people it's not, and some people it is. Right. And that's
Yes.
your proof right there that people make it like that. And it doesn't just happen like that. It's not, all of that is all just a myth.
You're listening to Brainwork Framework, a business and marketing podcast brought to you by focus-biz.com.
Welcome back to another episode. With us today is Debbie Longo, founder and CEO of Life in Bloom NY, one of her companies here. She's a revenue strategist, executive behavioral coach, and business and life coach, helping business owners stop revenue leaks, restart profits, and scale with confidence. So excited to have her on. Debbie, how you doing today? Thanks for joining us.
Doing very well. Thank you for having me on the show. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. We always like to ask our entrepreneurs, tell us about your journey. What were you doing before that kind of inspired you and led you into what you're doing today?
Right. So I have a little bit of a story. I had a bottom in my life. Basically, what happened was a few bottoms: depression and very negative, not feeling good about myself, different things like that. So I met this woman through like a series of people, and she became my spiritual teacher for like 21 years. And then she passed away of cancer in 2021. So first of all, she helped me with this low period that I had, obviously, right? So she explained to me that after we did inner work, we do all kinds of stuff, right? And she focused more on that type of stuff, but I do a mix of different things, which I'll explain. So after we did all of that, I started working with her. Okay. She's like, do you want to help me? Because she did groups and all these different things. So I said, yeah. So I started working with her, and then I was changing a lot. It worked out great. And then she said, you have a gift that you could help people. And she helped me develop that. And I didn't even know. I had no idea. Okay.
Wow.
I know. It worked out great. And then that was what I did. That was the whole thing in a nutshell. And then when she died, I was like, I might as well just continue, because that's really all I did, just continue, but I do it differently now. I do more tech, different things like that. She didn't do that. She did like everything local and different things. So it was a very different way, but I took what I got from her, you know what I mean? And I applied it to what I do now. That's basically the nutshell of it.
That's incredible. We were chatting just a little bit before we started recording here, just talking about those past mentors, how impactful they are. Somehow meeting them, they're able to bring out the best in us, and we're able to now contribute and feel like we're providing something and grow beyond just that moment. It becomes a legacy. And now you get to carry that torch beyond and kind of take it even further. So tell us more about who you're working with or how you're helping people, just help them fix things and prepare in life and business.
Right. So I was doing this in all different ways, which originally started out as a life coach. And I was helping people with finding the type of career that they wanted. People were spending hundreds of $1,000s going to medical school, and then they come out and they say, I don't want to be a doctor. I don't even like it. So there's a lot of things. So I was helping them with that and all different things, family, all different things. So what happened was when COVID came, because COVID was really bad in New York, it was a very, very serious thing. Everything all of a sudden just turned virtual, every single thing. Okay. Then companies started going out of business and they started going bankrupt and they were losing people and all these different things because people didn't want to go to work, right? Because they were afraid of getting the virus. All these different things were happening. So the reality, okay, it doesn't really have anything to do with how successful you are in your business and how much money you make and how many people you hire and whether your people quit or get fired or whatever. That doesn't have anything to do with the pandemic. It doesn't have anything to do with a virus. It doesn't have anything to do with a recession. But it's easy to say, for a business owner, there's a recession, right? Or people don't come to work anymore because they're afraid of getting a virus, right? It's easy to point the finger, oh, the government did this, so now I'm not successful anymore. Okay, it's very easy to do that, right? It's just easy. But the thing is, I don't want to do that. I want to be able to survive because there were companies that are still in business, you know what I mean? That weren't affected by it, like the big tech
Yes.
companies. They might have had a little bit of a problem, but, it wasn't anything like a big serious thing, right? They're perfectly fine now. So I said, I want to help these business owners. So that was why I started an executive coaching career, which is basically what it is now. So now I'm going back to do some life coaching to help anybody. So it's a mixed up kind of thing, a mixture, I should say, not mixed up, but it doesn't really matter what it is. It could be business, personal, relationship, career, anything. It doesn't matter what it is. The mind controls what I do. I'm able to make my own decisions and create my own actions. And that is determined by what I think, because every human being has the ability to think for themselves. We're not robots, right? Nobody's
Mhm.
programming information into us. And then we do whatever, that information is. Nobody's doing that. We're all human beings. So that depends on what I want to do, how I want to live, what kind of life I want to have, how much suffering I want to do. Do I want to be successful or not?
Absolutely. And it seems like you're just kind of finding opportunity out there, and where can you, best help them? Because yes, like the first 2, 3, 4 years of COVID, very impactful for businesses and business owners. And now it seems like maybe there's a transition or a trend into your entire life, rather than, just focus on that. This is a mixture. You're just finding ways to help people.
Right. So again, I'm going to do something now and I'm just going to use the title like transformational coach. Whatever is really attracting and appealing. That's really what I want to do. I could just say life coach, but that's boring,
Right.
you
And
know?
with that, you're focusing more on the outcome. It's the transformation. That's what they're hoping to
Right.
achieve.
Right. Everybody says life coach. You know what
Uh-huh.
I mean?
Why not
It's
be
boring.
different? Yeah.
Right. Exactly. I want to be like, what does this mean, transformational coach? What is this all about?
Yes. Yes, absolutely. And some of the pieces that we were going to cover both for life and for business is kind of those unspoken habits. Um, that keep up on us, whether it's something that we are or aren't aware of. Maybe someone points out, but are there some unspoken habits that can either make someone, less successful or more successful?
Unspoken habits means that they don't involve talking. They don't involve speaking, right?
Uh huh.
Well, that's pretty much a lot of things, okay? Because first I have a thought, and that thought is now followed by an action. That's if I want to make that thought into an action, right? So a lot of that action can be vocal. It doesn't have to be a physical action. So the thought creates what I say. Now, I just was on a podcast and I talked about this too, because this is a big thing with executives. And I was doing a podcast about men. I did another one about men, but this was more like emotions and different things about men. So let's just say, for example, we always had this thing like in the United States, I don't know about other countries, but where a man dominates a woman, right? Because the man goes to work and they have to make the salary and feed the family and all these different things. And then
Hmm.
the woman stays home. And then in the 60s, we had women's lib, and then women started to work and they wanted to take control. So if I'm successful, whether it be a man or a woman, but the point I'm trying to make about men is that this is just a common thing, right? And a lot of executives and stuff, people who are successful, most likely are men. They could be women too. Okay. But if you look up the statistic, it's more men than women. Okay. That's the first thing. So when a man is successful, then he creates an ego. And then the ego turns into control. And then the control turns into negativity because now they're trying to control every person, everybody, everything around them, right?
Hmm.
And they want it to be their own way. Okay. And that doesn't work, obviously, because we can't control anybody because we're not robots. Okay. Then it turns into negativity. And then that turns into a whole ball of wax. And then you don't know what's going to happen after that. Okay. Or because the husband, this could be even a woman. Okay. But men have big egos. That's a problem, which to me is real. I mean, it doesn't necessarily have to start that way, but I'm just using this pattern as an example. That's all I'm saying. So when that happens, then I want to be able to stop that. Well, I have to stop the first thing that I'm doing, which could be the ego or the control or whatever it is. I have to figure out what that first thing is. I don't want to stop the last thing or the second thing because that's not going to stop the chain of events. I have to stop the first thing I'm doing, and that will stop that whole chain of events. And then I will become a positive person. Obviously, there's a whole thing to it, but I'm just giving like a broad example of what we're talking about here.
Absolutely. Because like you said, it's not just the actions, but the thoughts. And those thoughts accumulate, they turn into actions. Like you said, following that process there, how quickly it can lead to, an inflated ego, into micromanaging, into control. And that's just not a good recipe. But it's really more about how do we change that behavior shift? How can we turn those negative, actions or thoughts into positive ones so that way, it benefits us, our family, our friends, our team, our businesses. How do we focus more on like the positive behaviors?
Right. So how do we focus on the positive behavior? Well, we have to get rid of the negativity first. And to me, that's the most important thing because the negativity can create all these things. It can go either way, right? The ego or the control can create the negativity, or the negativity creates the ego, right? So there's a lot of, like I said, there's a lot of different examples of this. But the problem is that if I'm negative all the time, guess what happens? I'm producing that negative energy. I'm
Hmm.
producing it out. And then guess what happens? I get it back. So did you ever hear of doctors? Their friends are doctors, and nurses, their friends are nurses. Okay. So just one example, people who have friends that are in the same profession, right? Because they produce a certain type of energy based on this profession and the school and whatever it is. And they want that same energy back. It could be somebody in the same industry. It doesn't have to be the exact job, right? And that's why that's really important for them. But the problem is, if I sit with that negativity, then it's not going to be good because then there's a whole bunch of things that could happen. What's going to happen? My business is going to go down the tubes really quickly. And guess what's going to happen after that? I'm going to say, "Oh, it's a recession. That's why it's not doing good." And
We're going to
you know,
start finding excuses
people,
again.
yeah, people just quit. So it's easy to point the finger. And then my husband or my wife wants a divorce. Oh, I can't take her. She wants to divorce me because she does these things and she says I do all these things and they're not true. And that's stupid. So then the kids don't like the husband, or I'm just giving examples.
Hmm.
So then you have the whole family and you have the job, and then everything is spiraling downward. And then a lot of things could happen after that. But the idea is to get rid of that before all of that starts happening, which a lot of people don't, but it has to happen, for them to actually see that something is going on. And one of the reasons why I do these podcasts is to educate people, to explain to them that this is the way the process works. It doesn't work any other way. You can say whatever you want. You can make any excuse you want. It doesn't matter. This is how it works. This is how our brain works. So we want to be able to, see that and, at least become familiar with something along those lines.
Absolutely. I totally agree. And speaking of the podcast and resources, I wanted to ask, where can people find and connect with you? And feel free to mention those podcasts.
Yeah, so I have one, Behavioral Profit, and I have a bunch of episodes there. And then I have a website, Life in Bloom, LifeinBloomNY. Okay, that's my business website. That is for executives, business owners. And then I'm going to have another one, The Internal Shift, which I haven't started. I actually have a few episodes of that already, believe it or not. And that's going to be anybody that's for transformational coaching, which again, all done the same way. I'm going to make a web page for it. Anybody wants to come on there if they have an issue, they have something they want to talk about, or just to talk, anything at all. Okay. And then I have a little 5-question thing for them to fill out, and that's it. And then they can make an appointment on there. And then I have LinkedIn. have all social media, but LinkedIn is really what I use.
Very nice. And we'll have those links available down in the show notes and the description so everyone can get connected to Debbie. And it's funny that you mentioned, hey, this is already what I have kind of coming up, because that's usually one of our questions is, what are you looking forward to most in 2026? Sounds like you got a few things cooking in progress already. Are you launching new products and new services here? What's going to be a big driver of growth for you in 2026?
I really want to think of ways, which I'm doing now, but it's like you're making soup, the more you cook it, the better it tastes kind of thing.
Huh?
So I'm thinking of ways, but I really want to try to make it where it's a life coach or transformational coach, whatever you want to call it, for anybody. And it's tailor made to the person. I have a strategy session, different things like that. And then I make a plan and outline for the person or the business or whatever. But I want to be able to really get the word out there by doing more podcasts and whatever else I can possibly do. I'm looking into some things that are local
Nice.
around where I live. So that's kind of what it's going to be. I don't know specifically, but it'll come together as it goes through.
Absolutely. And that does sound exactly like soup, because I don't know how many ingredients I'm putting of everything until I'm tasting a little bit. And then you're like, okay, it needs more of this. But yeah, you really have to let it marinate and kind of come together. All these different social media one's the carrot, the other's the celery. What are some of your go-to soup recipes that you like to go to? I'm a loaded baked potato soup kind of guy, so I'm going big into that.
I mean, chicken noodle soup.
Chicken noodle, yes.
That was stuff that my mother always used to cook. And then we used to make the escarole. And then you put like these big red kidney beans in there. There's a lot of soups that we used to make. She used to make a lot, like lentils too,
Oh,
are
lentil
really
soup.
good. Yeah. Yeah. We used to make a lot of soup. She used to love soup.
Lentil soup, and then like pea soup and like a turkey soup was always like a
Yeah.
big family favorite of ours. And
Yeah.
I'm sure we have some recipes that overlap a little bit.
Yeah, yeah, pea soup is good. That's another thing too. She used to make everything from scratch, so I make everything from scratch. I don't buy anything canned. Buy the vegetables, and it's very easy to do. It's just very time consuming. It's a lot.
It's a labor of love.
I
But
know.
I think just the taste alone is reason just to, do it as organic and natural and fresh homemade as you can.
Yeah, and it makes a lot, so it's cheaper.
Yeah. Yeah. I have a big Instapot that I like to use for all of my soup, and then I just, take half of it, freeze it for later, and then I have some variety for down the road.
Yeah, or just a big pot. I use a crock pot. Soup
Nice.
and like lentils and stuff in the crock pot is really good.
Oh,
It's really good. I know. Soup in the crock pot's really good, or just a pot, whatever.
we do actually have like about 5 more minutes available. So I wanted to ask, is there one main problem or issue that people are kind of going through that you've noticed across the board people are struggling with, whether it's maybe the habits or things they have going on in their life?
People, as far as talking about other things, for a little bit than business, and not mentioning anything that I had just said, which are big things, just to talk about something a little different, right? Is fear of failure.
Hmm.
Okay. So I go on a date, doesn't work out. I go on another one, it doesn't work out. I get discouraged. Oh, no date is going to ever work out, ever, for the rest of my life, because 2 dates didn't work out. Okay. Or they haven't dated, or they're in a divorce or something like that. Right. And then just because 2 dates didn't work out, right away, they're creating this fear, that they're not going to ever be able to find somebody. And then I could do the same thing with a job. Okay. If I go on a job interview, I spend, a very long time making a resume, looking through the jobs online and on the platforms and stuff. And I finally get an interview, and I go on the interview, and they didn't hire me. And then I say, okay, whatever. It's hard to get the interviews, right? So it's a lot just to get an interview.
Right.
So I finally get another one. I go on another interview. They didn't hire me. So now it's like just 2 or 3 times. It's like, forget it. Nobody's going to hire me now. And I'm just done. I'm just going to sit home, and I'm going to be homeless, and I'm not going to be able to pay my bills. And it's just going to go on, right? I won't have a car to drive. And then all of this fear and stuff is just going to set in. The issue is a lot of times is that it might not be time for that person to get the job. Maybe there's a lesson they have to learn. Maybe, they have to get the right job. Maybe that's going to take time, different things like that, right? So instead of being patient and saying this, I'm going to keep trying because eventually it will get a job. Eventually I have to. Okay, I'm going to keep trying. I'm just going to be patient. I'm going to keep trying. And then they will. But if they say right away, because if you say it, just like the energy that you put out, it's going to come back to you. So if I say nobody's going to hire me, then I'm not going to get any interviews because I have that mindset that it's not going to work out, that nobody's going to hire me. And so these are some things that I want to watch out for. And as soon as I get an interview or a date and I say, no, it's not going to work out, never again, then I want to get a coach right away because it's just going to be something where it's spiraling downward and then you can be in very big trouble and then it's going to be harder to get out of it.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I can understand, people's feelings after two or three times things not working, you get this perception. And now, like you said, it's a snowball. You're spiraling down. So it's important for people, to find that support and assistance when the time is right for them, because those negative thoughts, man, they can just really weigh you down. They're just holding you down throughout your life and business. And if you're telling yourself no before it even starts, well, there was never an opportunity or a chance for them to make it happen anyways. It's hurting.
Right. And the fear.
Hmm.
So it's all a ball of wax. It's all a big ball of stuff. Fear, negativity, these different things. They all run into each other, right?
Hmm.
So that's why these are very, very important things to watch. But a lot of times people just say, oh, whatever. They'll just think about something else or they'll just make an excuse or tell themselves that I don't have it, right? I'm not
Right.
negative and different things like that, or they don't know.
They'll
And
just find
it's
one more
not good.
excuse.
Exactly. Or they just keep making excuses,
Hmm.
and that's why we want to try to help people as much as we can and to just explain all of these stories that we could think of, situations, scenarios, and maybe that will help somebody. Maybe somebody is listening and they might say, oh, this is happening to me. I have a
Right.
problem with my job like that. And I didn't even realize that this is what's happening. This is the way that I'm thinking because it's a lot of explaining and talking. So that was one of the reasons why I said to myself, I really want to send the message out virtually because I could do this all over the world. And that's a big plus for me, right? Because everything's virtual now, especially after COVID, right?
Hmm.
So that's what I thought about is that I wanted to do it this way. I wanted to send the message virtually. And that was another thing that I really accomplished because I was actually very successful at this, believe it or not. I'm very
Yeah.
proud of myself.
Yeah. It's a huge
So
accomplishment.
yeah, and that was why I thought to myself, I should do a podcast because that is perfect for all of these things that I want to try to get across. Like we're talking about all these examples and different things, and this is exactly what I do with my podcast, which I'm going to do with the other one too. We talk about all these different industries and different things, and they all come back to behavior. They all come back to how is the organization, how is it running, how are the people? What's really happening? Can the boss fix it? You know, what about the employees? Different things like that. And I thought that was like a great idea. And it just like came to me. And then I started like just listening to podcasts like all over the place. It was very funny.
Yeah, yeah. And once you're in the space, man, it's just incredible both being a guest, being a host, recreating and repurposing that content. You're like, wow, I said some really smart things. I guess I do know what I'm doing. And now you get to share that with everyone and kind of just share mutual experiences and tips and tricks like having you on. And gosh, it just really expands our own knowledge, our network. And yeah, just kind of feel like practicing this just makes us better communicators and lets us see things differently from a different perspective.
Yeah, it's not like I'm selling a pair of Nike sneakers. I like Nike sneakers, so I'm going to buy these. That's not what this is.
Hmm.
It's just a matter of can you relate to what I'm saying? Can you say, maybe I have this issue? Maybe this might be something I want to look into. Maybe it's just an idea. I'm just curious.
Yes.
something like that. Anything. Doesn't matter what, you know what I mean? Something is better than nothing.
Hmm.
And that's really the bottom line because nobody has to sit and suffer. To me, life is not that difficult. If it is, then I make it like that. And that's really the bottom line. So, because some people it's not, and some people it is, right? And that's
Yes.
your proof right there that people make it like that. And it doesn't just happen like that. It's not all of that is all just a myth.
Right. And if you can make it hard for yourself, you can also make it easier for yourself. Yep.
That's the idea,
I love
right?
it.
We want to make
Yeah.
it easy for ourselves. That's the whole thing to it.
I love it. Absolutely. For those who are interested, make sure you check out Debbie's links below so you can get connected and learn more about her offering. And Debbie, thank you coming on for taking the time, sharing your journey with us. So nice connecting and sharing those ideas with you. We appreciate it.
Thank you very much. I appreciate you being letting me be on the show.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.